Hey y'all, little drummer boy here. And tonight, excuse me, that Bang energy drink is kicking. um, Tonight I want to talk about, it's all alliterated for you: Russia, racist, radicals, and recession. That's you have a group of radicals called the Democrats, and their drumbeat has been Russia, racism, and now recession. So you got a bunch of radicals. I don't know what's happened to the Democratic Party, and my grandparents, my mama and papa Little, who were staunch Democrats. My dad, who was a Democrat his whole life, although in later years I don't even think he voted, but he was. They were very conservative, though. They were conservative Christians, and even though they were Democrat, because the Democrat has party that they grew up with, there was nothing like today's Democratic Party. It was kind of socialist, and they were liberal on economics, but socially conservative. But in the last 50 years, the Democratic Party has taken a hard left turn. They are radical now. And I don't know how this has even been allowed in America. The Supreme Court should take emergency action on it, but New York and Vermont have passed laws that you can kill a baby up to 9 months, till the day it's born, to the second it's born. That is just, I've never heard of anything more evil in my life than things like that. And then, you got Governor Northam of Virginia, um, and claims to be a Southern Baptist. I wish we could excommunicate him. Anyway, well, I'm not really. I'm kind of like non-denominational now, although I attend a Baptist church, but I'm chasing a rabbit. He talked about having a baby born and keeping it, wrapping it, and then, keeping it warm and comfortable, and then the mother and the doctor will decide what to do. I mean, he's just talking about infanticide, killing a baby after it's born, like King Herod did. I mean, this is scary stuff. And if we don't stop it, God is going to bring judgment on this country, because he said the nation that forgets him, he will turn into hell. It's a natural consequences of rebelling against God. You destroy yourself. But he also lets enemies destroy, like he let enemies destroy, do a lot of harm to Israel when they rebelled against him in the Old Testament. So, okay, not only do they want to kill babies at 9 months and after, but, this crazy AOC chick, she's easy on the eyes, I give her that, but she is a dingbat, and, she wants to get rid of airplanes, cars, farting cows. Guess she ought to be Amish, basically. Well, wait, the horses that pull the buggies, I guess they probably fart too much too. So AOC should just put her money where her mouth is and walk everywhere she goes, including, when she goes on international trips or to Hawaii. So yeah, they're radical, and the whole Russia thing was a flop. Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals is the playbook for the Democratic Party these days, and it's dedicated to Lucifer, the first person to rebel against the establishment. And one of the rules for radicals is you blame your opponent with everything you're doing yourself. And that's why we had the whole Russia coup. It blew up in their face because they had nothing. The whole thing was started on a fake dossier that the Hillary campaign paid Russia for. Now get that. They try to take down Trump for Russia collusion, conspiracy with Russia to win the election, when it was actually Hillary Clinton's side and the Democrats and the Obama administration that conspired with Russia to win the election. The dossier that they used against Trump, they paid Russia for. And disgusting stuff about prostitutes peeing on a bed, on Obama and Michelle's bed. Only Democrats could even think up stuff so disgusting. Anyway, so moving right along, Russia flopped. It blew up in their face. Mueller was a bumbling, stumbling idiot that didn't even know that he hardly knew what room he was in, much less the facts of the case. So that he made a fool out of all of them, especially Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler. And what's the doofus from California that ran for president and it's already out? Swalwell. He didn't swallow too well. He uh, he didn't. Swalwell didn't do too well in the presidential race. Um, he's going to be bold without the bold, whatever that means. So anyway, so yeah, these radicals try to pull off the Russia stunt, the Russia coup. It was an attempted coup, the first time in American history. The party in power, the Democrats, the president in power, Barack Hussein Obama, and their candidate, Hillary Clinton, tried to take down their opponent, and then when they lost to him, they tried to run a political coup against him. So you got the radicals who did Russia. Russia didn't work, and so then they pull out their favorite card, which is worn out and soggy from sweat in their back pocket, and that is a race card. Now, this is the party that sent the Cherokee on the Trail of Tears in 1830, the Indian Removal Act. That was their kickoff. Andrew Jackson from right down the river here in Lancaster, South Carolina, down the Catawba River. Yeah, their kickoff was making the Cherokee walk from the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Georgia to Oklahoma. And many of them died. That's why they call it the Trail of Tears. Then they supported slavery. And they started the war. And Abraham Lincoln, he was elected from the Republican Party, which was started to, it was the anti-slavery wing of the Whig Party. They were started to end slavery. And the Republicans, the North didn't fire any shots. But when he was elected, the South seceded, and the Confederates fired the first shots at Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor. And so the Democratic Party is the party of the Confederacy. And there's different things about that. Two of my ancestors fought in the Confederacy. And a lot of guys around here didn't have a choice. People think that was a choice, but no. They conscripted boys from like 16 to men up to 65 years old. They drafted people to fight. So a lot of them didn't even have a choice. And a lot of them were just fighting for their homeland, like General Lee. He had been in the American Army for, 40 years? But he said, I won't fight against my native Virginia. So he had already released his slaves. But, it was about fighting for home and for states' rights. But anyway, the Confederacy was Democrat. Then Nathan Bedford Forrest, Confederate soldier, started and a Democrat, no doubt, started the KKK so that they could scare blacks into not voting for the Republican Party that freed them. Because up until LBJ and the Civil Rights Act, blacks were primarily Republican. They still voted for the party that gave them their freedom, which makes a lot of sense. And especially after all the stuff I'm telling you now, I'm telling you it is suicidal for black people to vote Democratic. I mean, just what are they doing for you? Like Trump says, what have you got to lose voting for me? You have the lowest black, Hispanic, and Asian unemployment in history. So why on earth would anybody, especially a minority, vote Democrat, especially with their history? Then Margaret Sanger started Planned Parenthood to kill off the human weeds, as she called blacks. She was a white supremacist, and her goal was to kill off the black race with abortion and Planned Parenthood. And to this day, 80%, according to Sean Hannity, 80% of Planned Parenthood extermination chambers are in black neighborhoods. And according to Live Action, 30% of abortions are of black babies, even though blacks only make up 10% of the population. So in part, Margaret Sanger's mission statement of killing off the black race is trucking right along. So you have these radicals, and then, the first movie ever shown in the White House was by Woodrow Wilson, and it was Birth of a Nation, a pro-KKK flick. And he was a Democrat, and you can also thank him for the income tax being taken out of your check every week, even though the Constitution says the government cannot confiscate our wealth. Well, Woodrow Wilson, 106 years ago, 1913, he started confiscating your wealth. Before that, there was no income tax. Our country ran fine, and some of the greatest years in our history, there was no income tax. Our country ran fine off of tariffs against other countries, which is what President Trump prefers. And so anyway, the oh, and the Civil Rights Act. Republican congressmen pushed the Civil Rights Act through Congress. And I'm moving my hand too much. I feel like friggin' Beto. Um, the Republicans pushed the Civil Rights Act through Congress. The Democrats were against it, except President LBJ did sign it into law, and he's quoted as saying, "We'll have them GD N-words voting Democrat for 200 years." So LBJ, the only reason he signed the Civil Rights Act into law was to get the votes of black people. He didn't like y'all at all. He called you the N-words. I guess he thought you were stupid. But he knew by signing that legislation that blacks would vote Democrat. And it worked, 55 years later, majority of blacks are still voting Democrat. However, that is beginning to change. Trump at one point was up to 35% among blacks. Because blacks, most of them are Christian, and they don't believe in killing babies at 9 months. They definitely don't believe in killing babies after they're born. And you look at the crazy things the Democrats support. Nobody, black, white, red and yellow, black and white, nobody supports the insane stuff they're proposing. So it's ironic, every time they're beat, they can't make a cogent point. They say racist, racist, racist. I mean, Trump's just kicking their butt. Who in their right mind would vote against this kind of peace and prosperity that we're having? The lowest unemployment in 50 years, the lowest female unemployment since World War II, the lowest black, Hispanic, and Asian unemployment in history, and peace with North Korea. No other president even had the balls to go over there and meet with Kim, but President Trump did. And you know what? He hadn't been firing missiles, hadn't been testing nukes, and right, so far so good. We're having peace with him. Trump definitely deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. So the radicals have failed at Russia. They failed at racism. So now they're trying to talk up a recession. This is another old play card that the Democrats have. It worked in 1992 when George Bush 41 had a very